So you may have 6 years worth of linked possibilities that could happen, each with their own upside and downside that could happen. You then identify decision spaces where your organization has the agency potentially to influence you, at least your response to that link, right?
Yes. So the example of the inequality pathway and a decision around investments and changing their investment strategy to avoid the inequality downside that they saw in that pathway. Really good example of how that's been playing out more consistently, right? That kind of conversation wasn't happening before. And so what we're seeing is that this concept of pathways, plausibility, and seeing not just a starting point and a scenario, let's call 2031 a scenario, and that's been foresight mechanisms for decades, right? Now you see how you get there. It's that middle that's been missing. And what's really fascinating to me is that because of our short-termism, because of the metrics we use to manage our business, people want to ignore the middle. And I use this in my keynotes, if we didn't do that in the 1920s through 1950, if we didn't ignore what we saw happening and actioned, inserted ourselves, if you will, there might have been some very different outcomes during a really tough time for humanity, right? So I overlay a map of that period in the middle of a chain or a convergence model, if you will, so that you make the point. If we ignore the middle, we're allowing that 2031 period to define us versus the other way around.